Hey, how's it going? Okay, Young Turks again. They've got some clips that show some of the black reaction to the Zimmerman case, and I wanted to talk about that. And really, I have a real problem with the host, Cenk, because he's really got this issue. And as far as I'm concerned, he is a paid racist. He is paid to come out here and say racist things that other people really wouldn't dare say.
Well, I agreed with the verdict.
Yeah.
I feel sorry that young kid got killed. There was some racial profiling, no question about it. But something happened to change the dynamic of that night. There are a lot of
So he's admitting that there was an issue and there was a reason for George to save his life.
Something happened to change the dynamic of that night. There are a lot of black people who are racist too. I think sometimes when people talk about race, they act like only white people are racist. There are a lot of black people who are racist. Trayvon Martin, God rest his soul, I think he did flip the switch and start beating the hell out of Mr. Zimmerman.
You can't prove if somebody is a racist unless they really come out and do the act.
So Bill Cosby's here defending George, saying you can't prove he's a racist just based on those actions. He has to do something that shows that he's racist, and none of this showed it.
Let's not go into a racial discussion unless we really have something there.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Now, this other guy they're going to let talk is somebody who they consider a Uncle Tom. And this is a really bad word that the liberals or the left side of the country calls anybody who happens to be black or have black skin who doesn't toe their line. So what they do is this is how they force black people to agree with them. You either agree with us or this is what we're going to do to you.
And he's talking to Piers Morgan. Let's hear what he has to say.
This case was not about race at all. And what happened, you have the race hustlers and poverty pimps like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and others who turned it into a race issue.
Now, Cenk is going to tell us that the only reason this guy is saying these racist things, and he's saying they're racist, of course they're not racist. This is factual. But he's going to tell us later on here in a few seconds that this guy is a paid racist, that white people pay him to say things that white people want to say, but they don't dare.
In order to gain power and wealth, using black Americans by dividing the races, intimidating white people in order to gather more power or get more power and wealth. George Zimmerman would have done whatever it took to protect himself. It didn't matter to George Zimmerman the color of the man. And this notion that Trayvon Martin was some little innocent kid tiptoeing to the tulips and George Zimmerman had nothing else to do but to go out and kill him is a lie. Trayvon Martin was a thug. His parents know that, you know that, I know that, or they knew that Trayvon Martin was a thug, and that's what it was all about. He was a pot smoking.
And he goes.
So they want to cut him off there, but this was the thing. The video I'd made earlier about the police officer that got arrested for daring to call Trayvon a thug. But we know based on the actions of that night and the actions prior to that, the fact that he was kicked out of school 3 times, that his mom couldn't deal with him and sent him to be with his dad, all these other things that happened in his life, I don't consider smoking the weed the problem. That's not. For me, the issue is that he attacked George. Everything else is secondary. But we know that he attacked George because George only had injuries from being beat up. He didn't have any injuries beating somebody else up like Trayvon did. Trayvon had injuries to his fist, and the only injury Trayvon got was the gunshot wound and the fist injuries.
Goes on, and he says all crime, etc. And I like that there's somebody out there pushing from not a place of bad intent, right?
He's talking
Jared and I
about
have
Bill
had some
Cosby.
debates over this. Here, I think he's gone too far, where he's just assuming away all prejudice.
Right.
If you don't want to use.
He wants to believe.
Yeah, he wants to believe the good in people, and these guys want to believe the bad in people. And if you've ever seen the movie Pollyanna by Disney, you'd know that if you look for the bad in people, you're sure to find it.
That we've come farther than perhaps we have.
That's what I hear in his voice, that he wants to believe it. He hates it.
And Ben's right. We have come really, really far in Cosby's time.
They really want to believe that we have not.
But we haven't gotten to the end. And I think that you can have a civil and totally interesting conversation with Bill Cosby and Charles Barkley about these issues, and we'll find areas of agreement and disagreement. And then you get to the people who are paid to be the Uncle Tom, Uncle Ruckuses.
This is where he rubs me really wrong. I mean, this guy is a paid racist on the other side, and he is paid. We know he's paid to get up here and say all these racist things that black people wouldn't dare come up here and say, or if they do, they're paid.
Part of why I wanted to make that distinction, right? So it's not like black people can't disagree. Of course black people disagree. Of course.
Yeah, they really disagree. If you're black and you disagree with the 90% who vote for Democrats, you're an Uncle Tom. And that's what he's doing right now. He's calling this guy an Uncle Tom. It's obnoxious. It's an evil thing to do. Just because somebody disagrees with you. How about if I call you, I'm not even going to go there.
They do, right? But some, like Jesse Lee Peterson, are paid to come out there and say racist things that white people want to say, but...
Why don't you tell us the racist things that he said? I know what he said, and not a single bit of it was racist.
Can't say, right. So they pay a black guy to say it. So he comes out and he goes, oh, well, Trayvon's definitely a thug. Now, but why would you say that? The kid was getting Skittles, and he didn't pick the fight. Why would you...
Oh, he didn't pick the fight, really? I would beg to differ. In fact, the court of law said that he did pick the fight. In fact, that's how George got off. That's why George was acquitted of all charges. Do you understand now? Do you understand that he was acquitted? I hope that sinks into that thick skull of yours. I mean, just looking at the forehead, you wonder if you can understand this plain English stuff.
Say he's a thug. That makes no sense. And then in the middle of it,
It makes no sense that he's a thug when he's beating George's head on the concrete. That makes no sense to you? What makes no sense to me is how you end up with your own TV show. I just have no idea.
Makes every assumption in favor of Zimmerman. Zimmerman was a good guy, and he never cared about race. How do you know that?
Well, only because the FBI and ABC, CBS, NBC, and all the other alphabet soup investigated him thoroughly, hoping to find something racist about him or something bad about him, and they couldn't. The only thing they could find was that he's a really good guy. He mentored young black kids. He took his own efforts and his own money to help people.
The Zimmerman advocates are always like, you don't know what happened on that night. You can't make the assumptions that Zimmerman was. But this guy makes assumptions. Zimmerman was such a good guy. And
we are making the assumptions based on what we know as fact. You're making assumptions based on you don't know anything. I mean, you are so far out of the loop. It's just sad. I don't even know how do you get on TV? And how to, don't they check your information before you start flapping? I mean, do they just, oh, that's right. You're one of those racists that people pay. They put money in your pocket so you'll say all this evil stuff, or that you will ignore the facts and not even try to look into them. It's sad, Uncle Tom, huh? Well, what are you? I'm going to call you Aunt Susie, all right? And all these white people that are being paid to be racist, I'm going to call them all Aunt Susie. Okay, Aunt Susie. Anyway, good talking to you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.